How do you find who to send your communications to at the business once you know that you've got a business you want to reach out to? Well, there's lots of ways. You can call the company and ask who the owners are. That's pretty straightforward and easy, but maybe you don't feel comfortable on the phone. Maybe there's something else you'd rather do. I find the easiest way to identify all of the players is frequently to go to secstates.com, which aggregates all of the Secretary of State's websites. Yes, exactly. You get a completely different site if you go to sexstates.com. So SecStates will take you to the list of all the Secretary of States. You just click on that, put in the name of the entity. If the first place that I would look is where the thing is headquartered. So if you're in California and the business seems to be in California, then I would look in California Secretary of State. If it's not there, then it should be, if it's operating here, registered, even if it's a foreign corporation, registered here, foreign meaning not in this state. But if you can't find it there, look in Delaware and Nevada and Wyoming. Those are other very popular places to incorporate. And what you'll find on the Secretary of State site is usually the officers and directors. Once in a while, you'll get owners listed, but frequently in small businesses, the officers and directors are the owners. So that would then, they also provide their address, so you can then send a letter directly to the owners at their home address, because that's what they usually provide, and you're not sending them something to the office. They will be frequently surprised and sometimes freaked out that you have mailed them, but if you say the right thing, it's fine. Then you can search the company on LinkedIn. ZoomInfo is another place that is good to check. And then look on the website under About Us, Contact Us Team, because frequently it says, this is Maria, she's the founder of this company, and blah, 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 blah. You can also do a couple of Google searches on the Googles. You can Google business licenses, city and state for the name of the business. You can say business permits, city and state for the name of the business, licenses and inspections, or certificate of occupancy. Those are things you can do. And if all else fails, you can go to Hoover's. Okay? So these are places to find the actual people and their addresses and contact information we're going to reach out to. Now once you have that, and then Sales Navigator, just to kind of give you an idea, what's cool about it for those of you who don't know, is it's a separate thing from regular LinkedIn, but you can search by keywords and add industries, the geography that you want it to be located in, the seniority level of the people and their role, like their title. You only want CEOs or C-suite people. You can also do Boolean searches with like and or and things like that. And you can search by the number of employees. So all the things that we identified as criteria that we care about, you can search for on Sales Navigator, and it's designed intentionally to allow you to find this information. Then you want to make contacts. So there's a few ways to do that. The best is always a warm intro. So if it's somebody that's anywhere arguably in your network, I reach out to the network and say, is there anybody that knows somebody at XYZ Co? I'm trying to connect with them to do some business with them. I always say to do business with them instead of to buy them. Make a phone call. Just call the person that you want if you've got their phone number and you're good on the phone. You can write a letter. Letters are great because they are usually sent, if you're sending to the address from the Secretary of State site, they're usually being received at home, and they will get attention, and they will also get their attention. LinkedIn, you can make a connection request, or just reaching out on social, finding them in messaging. So I've used all of these. I find them all to be very effective. Now, what do you say? What do you ask? So I just gave you scripts. Here's the deal with scripts. They're usually not in your voice. So if you're at a complete loss of what to say, copy mine word for word. But if you read these, they'll give you the gist. And the gist is that you want to come in from the side. You don't want to come on head on at them saying, I want to buy your business, you're a loser, your business is going out of business, and therefore I'm going to buy it from you and steal it. You want to say something along the lines of, I'm an investor. So think about this like in sections as opposed to doing it word for word. You want to say, you want to personalize if it's on LinkedIn because you want to distinguish yourself from all the spam that people get on LinkedIn, also known as spammed in. So I use their first name, and then I say I'm an investor looking to invest in whatever their industry is, company, so it shows that I have some inkling of what they are. And if you send me letters on LinkedIn, please call me Roland, not Ronald. That's my first pet peeve, right? located in their geography, and then give some of your things. Your company came up in my research, I find to be very vague. Your company came up in my research. That's how I found you. How'd you find us? Your company came up in my research. Oh, okay, right? Okay. Very few people say, how did you find me? And since you're a blank and I use their title, so it shows I really did my homework, then I'm requesting a connection to see if you might like to chat about the possibility of working together in some way. Okay, so very innocuous. Everything is innocuous. I'm an investor and I want to work in some way. That's probably going to get a response because they're like, that sounds like you want to give me money, right? I like money. The second way would be, I own a business in your industry, and I'm looking for a business like yours to refer people to, right? Don't say if it's not true, but that was what Paul and I talked about in approaching somebody, and so that's a very easy way, and he was able to set up a coffee meet with the guy right away, right? So very, very non-threatening. So I give you a whole bunch of ways to do that, right? On the phone, a couple of phone scripts, whether you know them, whether you don't, if the business is distressed, if it's related to your business, if it's not related to your business. Lots of ways. So just use the building blocks of, I'm an investor, I'm in the same business, I'm looking to send you business, you came up in my research, those kinds of things. They're very, very non-threatening. Then build know, like, and trust. If anybody has read anything about Tony Robbins or neurolinguistic programming, use all that stuff. When I respond to somebody who sends me a written message, I always look and see what they said. Because there are hello people, there are hey people, and there are hi people. And then there are Dear Roland people, right? So, so the Dear Roland people are usually girls in the Ukraine that are trying to find husbands. But the others, it's good to respond to them with the same greeting that they sent you. It just puts you in alignment right off the bat. So I'll always scroll up when I'm getting ready to respond and see, are they a hey person, a hi person, or a hello person? So use that kind of mirroring. Obviously, if you meet them, you can use leading and rapport and all that kind of stuff. And then common ground. So asking what their story is, and especially what they love to tell you is the origin story of their business, which you really want to hear. Because you want to know what's their story, what's their pain, what caused them to do this, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And then future pace them for what is the next after this business. Post this business, what are they going to do? Okay? Not that they're necessarily retiring or selling to you or anything like that. Just, you know, hey, what are you going to do when you're done with all this? Or what do you do for fun? Right? Those are, what do you do for fun is really good too.
Quick comment on the common ground. I've been a sales trainer about 1 million years, and I find that people just do not understand small talk, okay? It really should be called small talk, large listen. Because what normally happens is you come into a place and you go, oh, I see you got a fish on the wall. I like fishing too. And then that guy goes, the salesperson, the person who's trying to drive the deal, and tells them all about the fishing they did. And the people just don't care. But they will talk forever about them. So just when you're in that, just make a note. I'm here to listen. I got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio, okay? Good?
I find what would that look like to be very, very good at future pacing. What would that look like causes them to literally imagine in their mind what the future that you want them to be imagining looks like. If I say, if you were to sell the business, what would that look like? And then they're like, oh, well, it would look like, yeah, they haven't thought about it usually. And then they might really like the place that they see, right? Usually they're going to like the place that they see more than they like the place they are. Because I know this from being in masterminds that when I'm in a mastermind and I hear people go around and introduce themselves like you guys did this morning, I want to be in all of your businesses and I don't want to own any of mine, right? It's like the other person's business is always the most interesting business in the world. Now you know all of the problems with your business, right? But I don't, you know, and then I tell you what I do and you're like, that sounds amazing, right? So that what would that look like is a really good way to get that. This is my knockoff of Simon Sinek's book. I say find their why, not find your why, right? Do they want to invest in the company? That means that they probably want to stay, like if you're saying, if you go in with the investor angle and you say, you know, oh yeah, we'd love to get some money in the company, and you say, what do you want it for? If they talk about investing in the company, you know they're not yet thinking about selling, but they might want to exit and do other things. So kind of having that conversation to learn what it is that they want is pretty important. And then strategy-wise, just thinking kind of big picture, we really want to buy opportunity, not problems. So as a recovering attorney, I can tell you that people do not sue generally people that they like. So If you have any, how many of you read Blink by Malcolm Gladwell? A couple of you. Okay, great. So that's like if the curator of a museum has a statue that comes in, they'll look at the statue and they go, and they don't know what's wrong with it, but something feels wrong, right? And they know because subconsciously they've seen thousands of statues, and they even though they might be able to not tell you the specific thing that causes them to think this is a fake, it just feels funny. If you have that feeling at all, don't do a deal with somebody. Now, this is my philosophy. You might be like, screw them, I'm a corporate raider, I'm going to go and, chop them off the knees and grind them down. I don't think that's smart, because there's so many people that you will like that you can do business with. There's 420,000 businesses a month just from the baby boomers, right? So there's plenty of businesses out there. I think you must like the people. You must see this as something that you would have fun doing and enjoy, because if you don't, the problems that will come up that you don't know about, right, will be, they'll just grind you down. So make sure it's something that you actually like. Avoid low margin businesses like grocery stores or diverting businesses. I don't even like retail for that reason, because the margins are usually too low. I don't like inventory businesses for that same reason. So if you make a mistake, if you're wrong in your numbers and the margin is really low, you can get to a loss from a profit pretty quick. Avoid tech and heavily regulated for the same reason. Now, I don't consider like a subscription tech business, I'm not really worried about if it's looking good, but if I'm developing tech, I'm concerned about it. I will say that symbiotic tech companies, so like if you're a Meerkat, and you're developing an app that's going to run off of Twitter or Facebook or something like that, or you have an app that's scraping people, a SaaS that's scraping data from Google to do SEO reporting or something like that, I would run away super fast from that. I also, even though you can make a lot of money on Amazon, I don't like Amazon businesses because I had the experience of Amazon coming into the niche with Amazon Basics of the company that we had, and then it just evaporated. That market just went away. Amazon's like, yeah, we do that now. And they do that, right? And ultimately, I imagine that's their goal, is to only do that, right? So I don't like depending on other people. I don't like building my house on rented land. Avoid downtrending industries. I mentioned oil and gas and solar and retirement plans. Those are on the down. You want tailwind businesses that are going to buoy you up. And then avoid expensive capital expenditure or operation expense businesses like manufacturing, wholesale, retail, assisted living, that kind of stuff. These are just some kind of problem companies that, in my experience, I try to avoid.